So this morning, by now you probably watched the video of my pull this morning. So I did actually a couple pulls. Since I'm not used to running with the Pod 300, I'm not used to making sure that it's day logging or recording my sessions. So I actually forgot to record in one of them, but I was able to at least record 60 seconds of one of my pass or my pulls this morning. So my intention is that you just saw the videos or watched the videos with me doing the pulls. So first of all, I was checking the Autotune and making sure that the power commander and the flash ECU were working together without no issues, and I'm pretty happy with the way the bike performed this morning. So what I'm going to do now is just to pull the data so I can see the trims and the corrections that the Autotune are making based on my target AFRs. So my AFRs that I set are 13.2, and so I just want to see in the band that I allow the Autotune to make the correction, which is a 20% over and a 20% under, to see how it did. So if I'm happy, I think I was pretty happy with the way the bike felt this morning. So I'm probably going to be accepting all these suggestions and then just going on a multiple runs in the future, just so I can get the feel, the trim as close as possible. So that's one. Second thing, I did not do any nitrous passes because I was just focused in my normal driving and the performance with no nitro. So that's something that I'll be doing in the future once I know the wideband is working properly and everything is working properly. And then finally, I will be pulling the data from the Pod 300. So the Pod 300 is the one data logging. So I will be able to correlate the wideband with some other values, so I can see when I open my throttle how is my wideband doing based on my target AFRs. So I guess just enjoy it. I'll be walking you through the process. I'm not an expert. I'm just going through and learning the Power Commander right now. So enjoy it and just leave any comments if you want. All right. I'm going now to go to support on the DynoJet page to download this. Perfect. So what I want to do is I want to download Pod 300. I want to see if there's anything else. Perfect. So I want to download the Power Core software suite, and this includes the WinPep, Data Center, Dyno Control, and then the C3 tuning, and then the device manager. So this is going to give me an ability to manage my Pod 300. And this is also going to include not the Power Commander software that I already have, but some additional software that I can use for, you know, in a graphical manner, just to take a look at all the logs. So all right, cool. So it's downloading. Well, that's downloading. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pull up the Power Commander. All right, so I just connected the Power Commander. You can see at the bottom it says one device connected, map received successfully. So I'm just now going to I'll do get map, which is going to get the map from the Power Commander. And now I'm going to trim. I guess for feedback, and if you have not seen my previous video, I set a target AFR of 13.2. This is just a test, but I kept below 500 RPMs at 0, so no correction from the Autotune, and then same for like no correction for zeros for closed throttle. I do have this one here because I was testing and I wanted to make sure that the Autotune was working while I had my bike on idle at my garage. So in case you don't know what I'm talking about, you see that Autotune running. So whenever you are hitting a cell on this here, when you're hitting a cell, meaning like you are 15% throttle at like 1500 RPM, so that means that the Autotune is going to be doing the corrections if you have some target AFR set for that specific cell for that condition. I put that in here just so I can see the light turning on, and I forgot to, you know, take it out and remove that value, which I'm going to do today after I finish taking a look at this. So if I look at my trim, so the trim is based on what I learned. So after my run this morning, now the Autotune had a session where it was pretty much just working with me based on the modifications on my bike. It was trying to keep my AFRs at 1320 throughout the entire ref band, from like if I go back from my target AFR, from like 750 RPMs all the way to like 13,000, which I guess because I'm reflashed, my max is like 12.2 or 12.5, something like that. But I went all the way to 13. Now that I did my run this morning, you can see now I can go to the trim, and the numbers you get, or the values you're getting here, it's how much percentage of fuel either the Autotune remove or added to keep my AFR at the target AFR that I set up earlier, which is 1320. So if we go here, this will be 5% throttle, and you have to keep that in relation with the RPMs on the side. So let's just take a look at this one row here. If we go like 5% throttle and we go at 1750 RPMs, it says that at 2% throttle, it added 5% of fuel to keep me at 1320, or I'm sorry, 13.2, and then it subtracted 7% at 5% throttle. And then it was pretty much dead on after that, and did not make any corrections, or I did not went in 60% at 1750, which is probably, you know, what happens if you think about it. I'm just gonna go. So I did a couple pulls, but as you can see, the longer you spend on a specific RPM range, it's how accurate the Dynajet is gonna be, because it's gonna get more time to make the corrections and validate that actually this is the amount of the percentage that I need to either add or subtract in order to get to your target AFR, which is great. That's awesome. That's the reason why people say you keep accepting changes. So now if I'm happy with my run this morning, I can accept the changes, make that my base map, and I can continue running with the Autotune in learning mode, or I guess just, you know, allowing the Autotune to make those corrections. And I'm expecting to see the amount of the percentage of either like adding or subtracting, if the conditions outside are fairly similar, to stay quite, you know, quite about the same. This is Arizona, so when I went out this morning, it was probably like, I don't know, maybe in the 50s. So 50 degrees Fahrenheit for those who are watching these videos, and maybe you guys are not using Fahrenheit, but you make your calculation based on Celsius. But that was 50 degrees. So I mean, fairly it was chilly. So I'm guessing if I were to repeat this run again without making any modifications or maybe accepting these trims. If I were to go out in August, which is scorching hot in here in Arizona, it might be like 90, 100 degrees before 9. That means that potentially my corrections will be very different. So, okay, this is a sample of like -1 at 20% at 60 to 50. And then as I continue going higher on the RPM, oh, look at that. That's awesome. So I actually had more fuel above 9,000 RPM at wide open throttle or 100% throttle. I had like it subtracted like 1%, so maybe I had a little bit more fuel, and then 2, 3, 3. So I'm guessing my map on my flash and maybe the base map was a little bit different at this higher RPM, which potentially I'm expecting to hit a little bit of a. Yeah, so maybe it was a little bit richer. That's crazy. That's super nice to see. And of course, I don't have anything beyond on this range because my bike limits, I think, at this point in this range on 12.5 or something like that. So that's awesome. I was actually overall pretty happy with how the bike felt this morning. I was monitoring the Pod 300. I had it on AFR all the time, just kind of like monitoring how the AFR was going, and I can tell I think it was richer, and it was trying to make it leaner in some areas, which I guess is fairly consistent with what we see in this range. If you see this range here from like 5% to maybe 20% and maybe even above, it almost feels like it had more fuel than 13.2. So maybe the bike was maybe in the 13s or wanting to be in the 13s or something, and it was subtracting some fuel for those ranges. So that's awesome. I like to see that. That's pretty cool. So I'm actually going to be accepting these changes. The only change I'm going to do is just to make this a 0 in here. All right, so I was just looking a little bit of a little bit more into the documentation from Dynojet, and I only had my 0% and 2% table clear. I mean, I'm sorry, my 0% and my 0% table with no corrections, but I also added the 2% now because based on their recommendations. So that's why you see the zeros. And so I guess the one thing I was not clear that I'm clear now is that I mentioned that this is my target AFRs. And these are my trims after my ride this morning. So based on my AFR, these are the corrections that the Autotune made in order to keep the bike running based as close as possible to my 13.2 target. And since I'm happy with the results, what I'm going to do is going to map tools. I'm going to Autotune tables, and what I'm going to do is accept all trims. Now, what this is going to do is zeros back again. So, and then now I'm just going to do, so this trim now they are incorporated to my fuel table. And those corrections are now in here. And now I can do send map. And the send map, what it did is what I was mentioning before, where you can, now all the trims were accepted, and now I sent those corrections to the base map on my Power Commander. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I send the map, and now I'm just gonna open the file that I just downloaded for the Power Core WinPep and, it's in here, WinPep 8 data center, dyno control, and the device manager for the Pod 300, which is the one's gonna give me the ability to manage the Pod 300. So I'm just going to be accepting this in here. Yes, accept everything. Sure, I read everything. Okay, so it's gonna be installing all of them. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm not gonna change the name. Please make a desktop shortcut because my wife is gonna love it when she sees motorcycle stuff on her computer. That'll be great. All right, so I just got, these are the release notes from all the update and upgrades they've done. So yeah, thank you, appreciate it. Power Commander said, great, look at this. Also, let me block my face because you guys don't need to see my face. It's not that interesting. All right, perfect. So you can see, so I now connected the Pod 300 through my USB. So let me open this to see what I can do. If I can manage the device, you can tell it's connected, and I'm gonna show it in here. You can see it's connected through my cable. So it's just saying PC connect mode. It's perfect. So as you can see, I have 2 log files from out of the 4 you can get. And I have those 2 from this morning. One was an error because I hit the button by mistake. And the other one is the one that actually I'm more interested in. Perfect. All right, so seems I just want to take a look at this and do export as a CSV file. Okay, I'm gonna do export CSV. And I'm gonna give it a name. I'm just gonna say 17 April GSX pool. It was kind of a weird one because of course I'm not used to this whole thing of being able to, I'm gonna save it on the desktop so that way I know where to find it pretty quickly. And I'm also, okay, I can see it in here, it's at the top. And now I'm also going to be taking a look at the first one just in case. Sweet. So as you can tell, I think it's better just to look at it in the WinPep because the WinPep can give me a graph as well. But these columns are channels. So the channels pretty much are saying, let me just highlight all of this. And so what this is saying, like I was mentioning before, A through F, these columns, those are channels. So those are the channels that I set up on my logs. So just to take a quick look and make sure. So I set up to get the gear from the Power Commander 5, which I guess I didn't know. Maybe it's a value that I'm not gonna get, or maybe something wrong. I have to do a little bit of research about it. And then I also wanted to correlate the speed, but it's not reporting here. So all right. And then this is the RPM. From the wideband or the Autotune. It's kind of weird, all those values. 343, what the heck is that? So I guess I need to figure that out because I'm not sure what that means. And then this is the wideband AFR on the pool. And then this is the time. This is actually pretty cool. So I'm definitely want to see it. So and then this is the throttle position, the TPS. So this is giving you the percentage of my throttle. So this is like 2%, 20%, 40%. Oh, I'm sorry, 11, 26, 40, and then 100, 100, 100. This is my AFR at wide open throttle. I'm gonna take a look. So now I'm gonna close this one. And what I'm going to do is just to say export to WinPep. And this is the only file. So I'm just going to say, I'm just going to call this 17 April because I don't think I'm just going to go out again today to make a pull. So that's a file name. I'm going to save it. And I'm hoping the WinPep is going to open. Yeah, cool. Sweet. All right, cool. So from the little research that I did, I think you have to, let me maximize this window. I think you have to like click on the corners to select the axis. So you can get, you can set up a couple axes. Like right now you can see at the bottom I have time. Automatically just chose to do RPMs on the left. And then if I keep scrolling, it just maximizes and zooms in and zooms out. And then if I have nothing to show on the axis on the right. So I can set up something for that axis. So I can just do from the wideband. I want to know the air-fuel ratio. I want to know the AFR. And so this is the AFR, and correlated by RPM. So it was between the 13s and 20. And then I think I want to do RPMs at the bottom. All right, so I caught the last video because I started going through all the different values on the WinPep, which is the software that comes with the Pod 300, or it's available on the Dynajet website, just so you can manage your data and see in a graphical way, all the different channels that you are logging from either the Autotune or the Power Commander or whatever. So I'm still learning a little bit, but I was really struggling. I'm actually gonna pull it up. This data that you see in the back, which I'm going to refer to in a second, is the same data that I was just trying to cross-reference or map in here. And geez, man, it was so hard. So I don't think it's that hard, and you will not believe me if I tell you that I work on computers. But anyway, so I guess at a glance, without no instructions, without reading, or I guess I should say without not reading the instructions, I was not able to, get to the place where I wanted, and I wanted to do it like super quick. So I guess it doesn't work like that. So my graph sucked. So what I did, I took that CSV file that I downloaded, which I'm going to show in here in a second. If you remember, I downloaded this file, which is the pull that I did this morning on the bike, and I logged into my computer and to my Google account, and in Google Sheets I dumped the different channels that I was data logging this morning. So this is the original one. I guess something that I came to find out, which I guess if anybody watching this video knows a little bit more about Power Commanders can tell me. I was pulling from the PC5, the gear position. I guess that I didn't get that. I thought I was going to be getting that information on the Power Commander. And then I was also trying to get the speed. I guess none of these actually came through on my data log this morning. And then the RPMs from the wideband or the Autotune came kind of weird. So I guess I'm gonna try to do RPMs from the Power Commander next time to see if that actually gives me a better value. So and then this is the position, throttle position in percentage, and then this is time. So the duration of my log of my pull this morning, which I think it was about just slightly over a minute. So what I did, I guess before I go there, what I was gonna say is, if you look at these AFRs, they look somewhat, recognizable. You can see 3.5, 3.7, 17s, and then you can see a 302, a 603, and 617. I know exactly what happened. So I think I mentioned before that if you've never worked with any wipe-ons before, when you let off the throttle, the readings go all the way to the roof, and nothing wrong with that. That's fairly normal. But in terms of being able to get a decent graph so I can understand and really use the data for what it is, and specifically in this instance where I'm not concerned about the high numbers, because I know that I was either downshifting very aggressively, or I was downshifting and letting the bike just I guess not idle, but just on its own power without adding any throttle input after downshifting in a very aggressive way. Anyway, so what I did, I copied my data, but I deleted the columns that were not usable, which is the RPMs and the speed and gear, and then I got this graph. So of course the red line is the AFR values, and those peaks are the values where I was downshifting, which if you go back to the video, you see that I did like a I did it like a couple times. So that's how you can relate to that. So it's not a bad graph, but it's just, it's throwing me off because those values are there, and I'm not concerned about those high AFRs because I know exactly what happened. So, and that's not an issue for me or a concern. So I made another copy, and what I did, I smoothed it out in a manner where I got rid of all the rows where those higher numbers were present, and now you get a better graph, which you can make more sense out of. So this is the throttle percentage of this is the percentage. So this is the TPS input. So at this range, I was actually at 100% wide open throttle. Same here again. And then you can say, okay, cool. So if I'm at 100%, which I'm a hover over here, you can see 98%, and then you can see 100%. I can go back down and say, okay, so if I was at 100, let me see what my AFR was. So my AFR wide open throttle at these RPM, which I can't tell you exactly the RPM because the RPM numbers came kind of weird. It's like 14.3 at that specific time frame. So remember something. I am data logging, I think it's like 10 inputs per second from the wideband. So this is not the fastest you are ever gonna get from a system like this, which means the sample data you're getting, it's maybe a point in time that doesn't represent the overall number, meaning that 14.3 is real, but chances are my Autotune was able to bring it back to the 13.2 or as close as possible in the nearest second. So please take this with a grain of salt, but this is a great indicator. As you can tell, I left this high number on purpose. You can see at 27 because I was already letting off the throttle, so you can see that then the number of my AFR was going up, and then you can see it's fairly consistent, 13.4, 204, 20. I think there's a couple like 12. Yeah, there's a 12 in here, which is a 12 when I'm like going up in, if I were to go up in this place, it's almost like 12 at a wide open throttle, which is great. This is not bad. And in here you have like same thing again. So if you can correlate these two, these 51, and if I go here at 51, let me go 51 seconds into the run, it's like you can tell that 51.6, I'm already kind of like blipping the throttle a little bit, like I'm letting off just a tiny bit, and you can see how my AFRs are going up because I'm letting off the throttle. But as soon as I get on again and I go back to 100% throttle, you can tell how my AFRs went down, and it's now at 12.6, which is keeping my fuel close to the 13.2, which is great. So lesson learned. I'm gonna continue spending time on that WinPep to see if I can try to work on it as good as possible. But I guess I wanted to share the type of information you can get. I'm learning about the channels that I'm going to be using in the future between the Power Commander and the Autotune. So it's just a lot of options, and I'm just looking for the best way I can correlate my values. At least I would love to see the RPMs in relation to this. That will be super cool to see it and have a line maybe going to the middle just showing that, but at least you can tell these two, which is great, which is that the reference between the correlation between the throttle position and the wideband. All right, so now you were able to see the process to pull the maps and the trims, accept the trims from the Autotune, set it up so the next time it's going to be learning and making suggestions and corrections in the future. So now you see that, and you see how I made that my new base map. So I'm expecting the corrections in the future. If the conditions in the day are the same or similar, they're not supposed to be growing or increasing. They should be staying fairly stable. And hopefully at some point we'll see almost zero corrections, but I don't think that's actually possible. So now you saw that, and then you saw me playing with the graph, so I can correlate those two values. In my case, I was only able to get 2 channels to work together, or maybe 3, which is time versus the throttle input, as well as the wideband, which in my opinion, those are the most important things for me. It will be nice to see the RPM over the curve, but that's something that I will do in the future. So if you enjoy it, or actually if you even are, if you're expert on Power Commander, if you want to leave a comment in how I can make the best use out of the WinPep 8 application, that'll be great. Otherwise, I'm just gonna start slowly learning, and I'll be sharing everything that I'm learning. And for now, I might be just grabbing all those data points and adding them to Google Sheet or something like that, just so I can at least start visualizing the data, and I can see how the bike is doing, so I can start working on new target AFRs for nitros and additional modifications in the future. Cool. So I hope you enjoyed the video.